So, OpenAI just dropped its latest model, ChatGPT 5.2, and it's aimed right at professional knowledge work. And that's us, academics, researchers, anyone whose life is basically data and papers. So, the really big question is, does this new AI actually make a difference for us? Is this the game changing assistant we've all been hoping for? Let's jump in and see what's what.
I mean, the claims we're seeing are huge. Turning 2 hours of work into 20 minutes, that's not just a small improvement, that's a massive promise. It sets some seriously high expectations. But can it actually deliver? We're going to put it to the test, based on a pretty thorough hands-on review. Okay, so that's the official line from OpenAI. This isn't just another little update. They're billing this as a whole new series designed specifically for the kind of complex, brainy stuff we do every day. And to handle all that heavy lifting, they've introduced something brand new, a feature that turns out to be absolutely key to getting anything good out of it. And that thing is called thinking mode. Now, the way it works is pretty simple. For your basic, everyday questions, you can just leave the AI on auto. But for the real work, planning out your research, doing a deep dive into literature, or trying to create something complex like a presentation, you have to physically switch on thinking mode. And this is super important because, as the review points out, if you forget, the quality of what you get back just plummets. We're going to see that play out again and again. All right, let's kick things off with what actually works. Because honestly, in some areas, the improvements are really, really impressive. We'll start with a task that's fundamental for any researcher, a quick and dirty literature search.
So, the first test was pretty straightforward. Hey, find me 10 new peer-reviewed papers on OPV devices. The AI got to work, and sure enough, it came back with a list of 10 recent, totally relevant articles. So far, so good, right? And yeah, this is where it just nails it. An A+ for sure. It didn't just find the papers, it actually pulled out key data points, like specific efficiency numbers, right from the abstracts. And the best part? Every single link worked. Every paper was real and on topic. For quick first pass on a topic, this is fantastic. Okay, this next quote from the reviewer, it really jumped out at me because let's be real, if you've ever tried to get older versions of ChatGPT to create a graphical abstract, you know it was a disaster, right? A total mess. But apparently this new model is a massive leap forward. And check this out. This shows just how easy it is now. You literally just paste in your abstract and boom, it spits out a surprisingly stylish and relevant illustration. Now, it's not perfect. You'll probably want to pop it into something like Canva to adjust a few things. But as a starting point, it's incredible. It makes visual communication so much more accessible for all of us. Okay, so it's a champ at quick searches and making those cool graphical abstracts. But what happens when we throw something more complex at it? Well, that's where the story gets a little more complicated. This is where we start to see some of the seams. Let's talk about a full-blown literature review. Now, ChatGPT 5.2, it can write one. You get this long, detailed wall of text. But, and this is a big but, when you put it side by side with tools built specifically for this, like SciSpace or Consensus, the difference is night and day. Those tools give you rich data, tables, figures, and most importantly, easy ways to export to your reference manager. ChatGPT just gives you text. It's just not practical for a serious project. Okay, what about another classic academic headache? The one that we all dread, designing a conference poster. With its new graphic skills, it should be able to handle this, right? And the answer is a big, fat no. Seriously, the reviewer's reaction says everything you need to know. It wasn't just bad, it was apparently hilariously, unusably bad. A total faceplant on a task where we could all use a hand. But here's the crazy part. Just when you think, okay, this thing is useless for presentations, it does something almost genius. When asked to make a PowerPoint, it actually went into the research paper, pulled out a key data table, and presented it perfectly on a slide. The reviewer said this was almost genius. And I agree, that's exactly the kind of smart task we want an AI to do. And then, the very next slide, it all just goes completely off the rails. The rest of the presentation devolved into, and I'm quoting here, some rubbish, with just bizarre layouts and designs that made zero sense. It's the perfect example of that so close yet so far problem. One flash of brilliance followed by absolute nonsense. That inconsistency, that's its biggest weakness right now.
All right, so for the grand finale, the reviewer set up a high-stakes showdown, a real head-to-head battle.
In one corner, the generalist, ChatGPT 5.2, and in the other, a specialized academic tool called SciSpace. The task was a tough one.
And the challenge was a doozy. From a single prompt, get it to create an interactive web map showing every known dinosaur field study location in Africa. We're not just talking text here. This needs data, coding, web design, the whole shebang. A really advanced task.
And the results? Well, they speak for themselves. SciSpace? It just did it. One prompt, and out comes this polished, professional website with all the bells and whistles. A geological timeline, clickable data points, awesome. ChatGPT, on the other hand, well, it kind of stumbled. It just spat out a bunch of code, which then threw an error, and after some fiddling, it made a web app that was fine. Functional, but just not in the same league. The specialized tool won this round, no question.
So when you add it all up, where does that leave us? What's the final take on ChatGPT 5.2 in the academic world? It's pretty clear that even though it's a huge upgrade, it is definitely not a silver bullet.
This report card pretty much tells the whole story. Look, for the simple stuff up front, like a quick paper search or whipping up a graphical abstract, A+, gold star. But the minute you ask it to do something more complicated, a deep literature review, a poster, a full presentation, those grades just tank. It's a tool that's brilliant at some things and, frankly, terrible at others.
So here's the bottom line. Is ChatGPT 5.2 a fantastic assistant? Yes, absolutely, for very specific, small tasks. It can definitely save you time. But for the heavy-duty, complex research that is our bread and butter, the specialized tools, the ones built just for us, are still way out in front. And that kind of leaves us with this really interesting question, right? This tool isn't perfect, not by a long shot. But it's good enough at a bunch of little things to actually be useful. So how is this new wave of powerful, but kind of flawed AI going to change how we all work, how we do our research? That's something I think we're all going to be figuring out together.